You are listening to Balloon Killers. I'm your host, Chrissy Riley, and each episode I'll be talking to someone from the world of cowboy mounted shooting, which is one of the most exciting and fastest growing equestrian sports. Hold on to your hats because it's going to get western. Happy Valentine's, lovers. This might be a little known fact about me in the broader community, but I think a lot of people in the Colorado clubs know that I am a sucker for dressing up, and I'm a sucker for holidays, and I'm a sucker for dressing up on holidays. So, of course, to celebrate Valentine's this past weekend at the Colorado Mounted Thunder Shoot, I had to paint Go Faster hearts, sparkly Go Faster hearts, on Mr. Bear's butt. And I'm told that I shame my animals by making them accomplices to my love of costumes and dressing up on holidays. But honestly, I think his sparkly butt gave him a swagger, and I think he performed better, and he certainly looked like he was going faster because the glitter sparkled. So I would highly recommend it if you're looking for that extra edge in your performance. I've noticed that I'm getting better at focusing on the good things. So if you follow me on Facebook, or there's now a Balloon Killers TikTok, you can see my post about Mr. Bear, my gushy post about his progress from this past weekend. And you can also see it on TikTok because there's actually a Balloon Killers TikTok. There has been a Balloon Killers TikTok for a while now, but I just never post anything on there. But I'm going to try and get better, especially while I'm in Arizona next weekend for the Winter Championships. I'm not taking a horse. I think I've already said this before, but I'm not taking a horse because my boss wouldn't give me enough time off. But this really shows how lovely the shooting community is, because multiple people have offered to trailer Mr. Bear down to Arizona so that I can shoot when I'm down there. I just love this community. That's such a thoughtful thing to offer to do. But I wouldn't burden anyone with Mr. Bear because while he's incredibly cute, he's also a bit of a turd, and I wouldn't want to wish that on anyone. But anyway, back to Arizona. I'll be there recording some podcasts, which I'll be publishing on the same day. So expect an influx of material just in time for the drive home. And if you're not in Arizona, expect an influx of material to keep you updated on what's happening there. And I'm also going to be wandering around, asking some random questions and posting on the socials. Come and find me, come and say hi. I love to chat to everybody and I love meeting new people, so look out for me. My guest for this episode is different to the usual programming because I wanted to bring some knowledge from a different discipline, from the rodeo world actually, that I think will be really helpful for shooters as well. My guest is a certified strength and conditioning specialist and the founder of Champion Living Fitness, a premier coaching company dedicated to rodeo athletes. Doug Champion has coached over 30 NFR qualifiers, multiple world champions, and leads the most elite rodeo school in the world, the Optimal Performance Academy. He's the host of the Champion Living podcast, where he dives into topics like fitness, nutrition, mental toughness, and what it takes to become a true champion in and out of the arena. Doug's mission is to revolutionize the way rodeo athletes train and perform, ensuring they reach their full potential while staying healthy and strong. I've known about Champion Living Fitness and Doug Champion for quite a few years now, and I'm an avid listener of the Champion Living Fitness podcast. However, I didn't know about his connections to mounted shooting until I was told about an interview that he did on a hunting podcast where he talked about his connection to mounted shooting, and we talk about that in the interview. I'm sitting down with Doug Champion of Champion Living. I actually learned about Champion Living when I was breakaway roping, and I listened to a podcast. I think it was Jordan Joe Hollenbach.
I was going to ask if it was Jordan's, yeah.
Yeah. And I was on the way back from a Larry D clinic, actually. I was listening to that podcast and I was like, I need some of this Champion Living stuff in my life. And I reached out to you and got connected with Natasha.
Mm-hmm.
And she's amazing.
Yes,
and I
she
worked
is.
with Natasha for quite a few years until I was ready to go back to the gym. I'd been burnt out on CrossFit, and she got me over that burnout and got me moving really well again and really changed things for me in terms of fitness. And so while you aren't a mounted shooter, I thought it would be really great to have you on the podcast so that mounted shooters can learn from you and your vast expertise. And I know that you also have connections to the sport. So do you want to start there and tell us about that?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I do know a little bit about mounted shooting. My brother, Richmond champion, was very into the sport. And I have a lot of close friends that were extremely competitive as well. My brother's Richmond champion. He was, when he was a kid, I don't even know what division it was, but he won a world championship in mounted shooting when he was, I want to say 12 or 13, granted juniors, but those kids are still moving fast, right? A lot of those kids would be
Yes.
placing in any of the upper divisions as well. So I know a good amount about the sport of mounted shooting. It's been really cool to watch the popularity grow. You know, I went to high school in Arizona, and in Arizona, there's a huge community for mounted
Yes,
shooters, right?
for sure.
And so that's how my brother got involved with it, and I got to learn a lot more about it. But it is it's cool. I think it's a really fun thing to watch and to do. I shot a few times, never at anything super competitive, but they had some shoots over by like Cave Creek, Carefree area in Arizona, and so I did those when I was in high school just for the heck of it.
So
But
you understand a bit about the sport, which I think is going to be really useful as you tell us a little bit more about champion living and sort of how it started, why you started it, what your goals were.
yeah, this is a long story kind of. But so I rode bucking horses, professional rodeo, college rodeo, and I had just a freak accident, but it's part of the sport, right? It's one of those things you don't want to happen, but when it does, it's not unexpected. I had a horse roll over with me into a fence in the middle of a ride and ended up breaking my back, broke my collarbones and my ribs at the same time. My ribs and collarbone hurt way more than my back did, so I didn't even know that my back was really messed up for well, it was probably like 6 or 8 months until all the other things had healed, and it just wasn't getting any better. Went to the doc, MRIs, fractured L4, L5, S1, and I was 20 years old, 21 years old,
Wow.
and really lumbar fusions, the surgery that I ended up having, are not something a guy my age normally has, right? I'd say the average age of people getting those kinds of surgeries are probably in their upper 60s, 70s. It's a I don't want to say old person and offend anybody, but it's not a young man or young person's surgery usually, unless circumstances like this.
Yeah.
That being said, medicine hadn't really. I'm talking about it like it's like the early 1900s, but really, spine surgery has evolved a lot in the last decade. And when I got injured, all the surgeons I saw were not confident in their ability to fix me, and they were really honest with about that, which is a huge blessing because they were worried about my quality of life after. Their biggest worry
Mhm.
was, you're 20 years old. I don't know. You wake up and yeah, we'll fix the thing, but a lot of the symptoms escalate in these people that we have operated on after the surgery. So it's just this, nobody knew, right?
Yeah.
And so I just opted for no surgery and asked for their best advice other than that. And they said, get strong, get as strong as you can. It's gonna be the best thing you could do for yourself. So I had worked out while rodeoing. I mean, riding bucking horses, bareback horses. I kind of figured you had to be strong. Granted, I didn't really know what I was doing when I was exercising. I was doing lifts and doing all the things, but I didn't know why or the rhyme or reason. I was just doing it because I figured you got to be strong, and no one else was doing it at the time. I'm like, got to give myself at least a little bit of an upper edge here, an advantage. I went 2 years with no surgery, and throughout that time, I just got obsessed with fitness and strength training and really lumbar, lower spine rehab. I don't have a degree in anything like that, but I've done as much research as somebody can do about it because I wasn't willing to not live the life I wanted to live because of the pain that I was in. Right? I wasn't.
Right.
I'm not. I'd rather go hurt and do the thing I want to than be sidelined and sit there and watch. So I did pretty well for those 2 years. I mean, managed a lot of pain. I actually got it really into CrossFit as well during that time, and it sounds wacky because of a lower back injury, right? But the first thing was the community. I had lost rodeo, something I had literally ate, breathed, slept, dreamed about for the last decade. I thought I was going, I want to go to the NFR. And that all comes to an end like that. And what do you do now? And there was definitely some depression. There was some things I went through. I just didn't know what to do. And so that gym gave me a lot of that support and a lot of that family and camaraderie back. And people are meeting there from all different walks of life, but all for the same reason, to get better. And so the cool thing about the CrossFit gym I went to was the coach. He ended up actually being my business partner after a while, but he didn't do it like normal CrossFit coaches, right? He's not like, you have to go and kill yourself, or that's the only way. Told him about my case. He scaled things down a lot for me and made it doable. And with no surgery, I was doing back squats, I was snatching, I was cleaning, I was doing all the things. And flash forward 3 years, same guy, same coach. His name was Tony Shelley. I talked about wanting to open a gym as well. And he's like, well, let's just take this one, go together, and make it the one of the town, right? So we upgraded our facility, went in together, and around that time, I had still been looking for a surgeon because I wasn't all the way, I wasn't happy with my quality of life still. I had gotten a lot better, but not exactly where I wanted to be. Ended up finding a neurosurgeon, that was kind of the big transition, I would say, in spine surgery and medicine, is the neurosurgeons looking into this, because orthopedics are bones, ligaments, joints, like that's their job.
Yep.
They don't know anything about the nerves or how they do a little bit, but how the spine works and in the brain and all of these things. So found a neurosurgeon in Houston who was doing these kinds of surgeries, was extremely successful. First day I walked in, he said, I'll fix you. I do not know what your capabilities will be, but like normal life, you will be set. You'll be good to go. You'll feel normal. Said, but getting on bucking horses and things like that, I have no idea if that's going to be feasible. I've never even operated on someone as young as you. I just said yes because I was so over what I was going through, but also I just had this feeling with him. I trusted him and was ready to go. Flash forward to surgery, and we get there, and I'll never forget this because my mom goes with me, of course. Moms are nervous about this, and me being 20 years old have not thought about this enough. And we get there, and my I'd been to all the appointments by myself. She had no idea what was going down. And she starts asking the doctor about what the surgery is going to be like. And the first thing he says, well, the heart surgeon will come in first. And my mom's, say what? Like back surgery, heart surgery, what are you talking about? Well, for these fusions, the way that he was doing them, they have to do the front and the back of your spine. And so they put screws through those parts of your vertebrae. They put fake discs in, artificial discs that have springs in them, so they act like a regular disc would. And then they crisscross the screws essentially, and that's your support. And so those levels of your back don't move anymore, which can be a problem if you don't pay attention to how you train, how you rehab yourself and all these things, right? So anyways, they have to take all your organs out of you to get to the front part of your spine.
Oh my gosh.
And so not your heart and everything, but your liver, your kidneys, like all those things have to come out, and so they can get to that part of your spine. And so my mom's asking the doc about all this, and about that time I had, it was all getting real for me, and I just asked if I could have my Valium now and go to sleep and not hear about it anymore. So I woke up 9 hours later. It was an 8-hour surgery, and I had a nerve block and everything, but there was a difference instantly on waking up, which was a big relief for me. I felt so different, and that pain was gone. And even the pain that I had in the rehab part of that, especially the first couple of weeks, it was pretty brutal, but it didn't even hold a candle to that dull pain I'd been feeling day after day after day after year. I did my own rehabilitation. I was pretty confident. Oh, the doc also had never operated on anybody that it was as fit as I was when I showed up. So I was, CrossFit will make you fit, but did all my own rehab. I was very patient. And my thing with this is I was getting like a second chance at not life, but the goal with the gym wasn't to go win a world title. It was to feel better. My goals my mindset had changed. My outlook on everything had changed. And when you do that, you don't put a time frame on things. It's easier to not get impatient on these not seeing success here and there, or the little times where you have to take a couple steps back, because I would get sore. Right. And it'd be like the first time when I introduced something to myself, to my body, the central nervous system would just be like, whoa, what are we doing? Why are we doing that? For instance, back squats. as you can imagine, the first time my spine was ever loaded again with any kind of weight, I got sore. And there were a couple times deadlifting, back squatting, not while I was doing the movements. It would be the day after I'd wake up and be tight or sore. And I'm like, I messed myself up again. I just repeated this. But I also knew that that wasn't true. It was everything. My body's healing. Your body's going through all kinds of different things. Nerves are waking back up. They just cut through a ton of your body. Your body went through a ton of trauma. Like, there's a lot. It's going to take some time to reverse all this, right? And so being patient with myself was a really, really important key. And a year later, I was back squatting on body weight. I was deadlifting over my body weight. I was doing CrossFit workouts, not to this full extent, but 2 years later, I was in competitive CrossFit. I was back squatting double my body weight. I was, I got to do some incredible things with this back surgery. Like, I got a clean and jerk up to like 365, 370. I was snatching 275, back squatting 400, deadlifting 535 for reps. It was,
that's amazing after that injury and after that surgery.
It was really incredible. And, but I owned a gym at that time, so I treated it like my job. And the thing about all those things, those are all impressive numbers, or at least I think they were pretty impressive. The amount of mobility, the amount of work that has to be done to counteract all of those things is not feasible for the average person in a day. So I worked out 4 or 5 hours a day, and 2 or 3 of that was Metcon, weightlifting, conditioning, but 2 hours of that was mobility and prehab. I called it, like preventative work. And that preventative work is the number one thing I think that really, really helped my recovery from that surgery, and where I was able to lift those weights like I was and get my body to that position. The recovery mobility is huge for anybody. Like, it doesn't matter what you do. If you're not even a horse person, if you're just, as we age, if you could do mobility and lift weights, those would be like the 2 best things that you could do to make your life go longer, be stronger. Because usually after the age of 30, our body naturally starts to atrophy. So if we're not doing things to prevent that atrophy, that means that we are losing muscle the older we get. So that's why we see people in their 60s that are not, maybe they're active, but they're not fit, and they take a trip or a stumble and they break a hip. Right. And then they have to have that surgery. Not a big deal. The surgeries have come a long way. But a lot of times you see the recovery and things are not the same after. You see like drastic changes in life just because of little things like that could have been prevented from a little bit of maintenance work with yourself, right? But I think the majority of that happens because it's not education, but people just have this thing in the stigma in their head about fitness. And if I look at a weight, I'm gonna look like the Hulk. I can't do that. It's like that's not how it works. So I think you only asked me how I got started in fitness. So.
Yeah, but I love this path that we've taken, because I'm actually making a lot of connections to it myself. I was diagnosed with breast cancer a couple of years ago. I went into breast cancer treatment surgery actually in pretty good shape. I mean, I'd been working with Natasha for a year and a half at that point, coming out of CrossFit, going into working with Natasha. I went into surgery, and because I started off in a good place, after surgery, my surgeon said she'd never seen anyone recover as quickly as I had. I had almost full mobility in my arms and my chest after probably about 3 months. And then going through treatment, awesome. I did not really get sick through treatment. I managed the fatigue, I managed the stomach issues much better. And I think it's because I started in a really strong place. And it sounds like with your surgery, you were also doing all of the work before you went into the surgery, set you up in a good place. And then, yes, you probably took a few steps back, but then you were able to build on it quicker and better. And like, I feel like I'm probably almost back to where I was before surgery. That's at this point.
Yeah. That's such a cool story. And it's like, you get the feeling though, like when you get to come back through something like that, you feel accomplished. You level up when you go through things like that, right? Life isn't so daunting when you go through things like that. And that's what I think is so great about fitness is, at least for me, I don't need to work out every day for a goal reason. Like, I don't have a sport I'm playing. I'm not trying to win anything. I'm an avid hunter. So that's about all that I'm staying in shape for. And the other reason is that my body loves to move. I feel so good when I move, and that's a non-negotiable for me. So I just you just gotta do it if you actually want to. It just your why has to be bigger. And for me now, it's like we just had our first kid, and that there was like I want to be around longer already.
Yeah.
It's like I want to keep doing these things. So these are non-negotiables for me. The working out, the taking care of yourself, the things that when you're 70 or 80 and you look back, and I don't want to say I could have prevented something, happening. And I don't mean like a freak deal, but like disease or whatever because of inactivity. I want to keep moving. And then you look at statistics of things. Have you ever seen the like the thing on Netflix, or maybe it's Hulu, but like the blue zones where
Yes.
these people live for over 100?
Yep.
And there's a couple of similarities between each zone, and one of them was altitude. I think they were living at altitude.
Hmm.
They were walking everywhere, and they weren't just walking straight lines. They lived in really steep villages or whatever.
Yep.
And then the younger people took care of the elderly people, meaning they didn't just get put in a home or anything like that. These communities or these cultures all around the world, it is a staple to take care of your elders. And it was cool to just watch how it's not that you're just taking care of them, as the younger people are getting so much wisdom from them by doing that as
Yeah.
well. And so they were able to progress their life further faster, and it's just cool. And the type of food that they're eating real food. They make all of their everything, their noodles, their bread, all of it, right?
Yep.
In America, we do not do that. That is, everything is immediate reward, quick, go, 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 and go some more. So it's all a balancing act. And for anyone starting, it can seem a little daunting to like, where the F do I start? Like, what am I supposed to do? And just keeping it simple is the biggest thing.
So how did you translate all of that in learning into champion living as it is right now?
So as I started champion living by myself, COVID year, and it's evolved now to I have 7 other coaches. 2 of my head coaches honestly run that whole side of everything now. I just took what I learned in the systems that I taught myself when it came to fitness, nutrition, and the rehabilitation stuff, and just made it teachable. How can I repeat this and teach other coaches how to do this? And so I've got Logan Corbett and Paul Lloyd are my 2 head coaches, and they've been with me since the very beginning. I hired Logan maybe after my first year, and I hired Paul maybe 2 or 3 months after Logan. And they've become not replicas of me, but they know I could send them anywhere and they could tell you everything I would tell you word for word about our business, about our company, about how we coach, why we coach, what our mission is, and how we have evolved since the beginning. And the biggest thing is, again, so I took what I learned, taught them. We've added other coaches. We all have the same system together. But the biggest thing is we keep learning. So we're not just using these things I learned 10 years ago when I started coaching the same way I am now. We've all gotten extra certifications. We have meetings every 3 days a week about coaching, about how we can make the programs better, how we can make an athlete better, how we make a mom and dad better. We work with everybody. So I made it simple. That's the biggest thing. I just made it really simple, and it actually kicked my ass about it sometimes because I have clients leave because they get it. Like they understand why we're doing things the way we are. And they're like, you just taught me too good. I'm like, I can't be mad about that, but damn it,
I love that about your podcast too. It's like sitting down, listening to you all talking about your learning.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we do. And our podcast is a lot of fun. It's probably one of my favorite things that I do during the week with them is we tried to make it structured at first, and then we all are just so ADD that just doesn't work. And so I just threw it out the window, and I'm like, this is kind of what we're going to talk about today. Let's roll. And so we just have a really good time and cutting loose. And we got to do our first live episodes in front of a live audience in Vegas this year at the Westgate. And that was a really fun experience to have the crowd interacting and asking questions. And I'll never forget the first time they applauded for us when we got done, and all 3 of us kind of were startled because we forgot they were even there because we're so into what we're talking about. We're like, what is happening? This is so strange. But it's a lot of fun. But yeah, our podcast, Champion Living Podcast, you can find on Spotify, Apple, anywhere you get podcasts, and there are an abundant amount of episodes you can listen to.
It's a good one. It's one of my regular listens, and I learn a lot from you all.
I'll even let out a little secret here. I'm releasing a episode with Cody Johnson next week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And so no one knows about that yet. And that'll be out, I think it's Tuesday. And we've also been putting our recording everything. So everything is video recorded. You can find that on YouTube. And if you are on Spotify, you can actually watch the video recording and listen at the same time. So it's a pretty cool deal. But yeah, we're dropping that episode with Kojo, and it's really cool. It's a way that no one has really talked with him, and he's one of my best friends, so it's a little bit easier for me to chat with him. But it's literally, he finished at the World Series or Open, gets off of his horse, and we start podcasting. And so there's no script, there's no nothing to this. It's just him, and so it's just a raw, unfiltered version of him, and I think everyone's going to really love it. So make sure you guys check that out and stay tuned for that.
Yeah, for sure. You've had a lot of success with Champion Living. I know that a lot of rodeo athletes now are following your programming and using you as coaches. So do you want to tell us about some of your successes, particularly in the last year?
Yeah, we've had some big wins. Josh Frost was a 2024 world champion bull rider. I've been working with Josh for the last 4 years, and talk about a guy that, man, he works harder than anybody. And it really, just watching his grind and how he does things, everything is for the purpose of winning. And it's a little different than mounted shooting, or maybe not for some people. You know, maybe people are that dedicated and want to be that world champion that bad. But there are going to be days where you don't want to do the work. And Josh had those days, but still did the work. And that's the difference, right? That's just the difference between discipline and motivation. Motivation, you're psyched to do something, but eventually that fades out. Discipline, you're psyched to do something, but it never goes away. You will do it regardless, rain, snow, shine, crying, whatever. Like, you're getting it done. And that was Josh. And he didn't just work on one part, his physical. He worked on his mental aspect. He worked on his nutrition. He has a mental performance coach, that does all. She's my sister-in-law. So I, get to see all the sides of this, and he does the homework and does the work, and to see him win that world title, to see all that come to the fruition, it meant a lot to us as a team. And I know it means a ton to him, but I know he's just hungry for more, right? Just fires him up even more. This year's been great. Cody's always a success story for us, because I've been working with Cody for 10 years now. He started with me at the CrossFit gym, and in the episode I get to hear a little bit about, how fitness helps him stay him, how it makes him sharp, keeps him on task. And see him, they won album of the year at the CMAs this year. It's just to see people being successful because of their habits is so important. It's so cool to me.
You're really changing the shape of rodeo, and rodeo performers becoming athletes. I'm really seeing that, and I've noticed that shift.
Yeah, we started as a strength and conditioning company. And I was just thinking, the probably the coolest thing that's happened for us all year is our schools that we do. And I hate calling them schools because they're more like a master's degree in professional rodeo. But all of my coaches and I have a soft spot for rough stock athletes. We rode bucking horses, we rode bulls. We want to take this across to all events in rodeo, and even this could go beyond that for sure, into just Western sports in general. But what we do is, it's 4 days, and we're teaching them all the professional skills that they need to be an actual professional rodeo athlete. So yeah, anybody can go buy their pro rodeo card or permit. Anybody can do that and say what event they want to compete in and have their permit. But getting the permit and going to that level of filling it to getting their card, they have to win $1,000 to get their card. And then from that level, just being the best in that rookie year. And then that level from that rookie year, getting to the top 15 in the world, there are giant learning curves to those. And each step you get to, the bigger the curve gets of learning and what you have to do to make it. And so we're trying to shorten that curve. When we all sat down together as a team, we talked about all the things we had to learn on our own and how long it took and how much of a beating we had to take to get there. And that's part of the sport a little bit, obviously, but we also agreed on the fact that we could shorten that by a lot, I think. And so this year was our 3rd year ever doing these schools. And schools are usually never cost money, because the stock contractor that's bringing the animals is also getting something out of it. He's bringing all of his young animals that have never bucked before to see what they do. Stock contractor gets to test his young animals that have never been bucked. So they're going to be a little scared, a little nervous, things happen. You don't know what's going to happen when you open the gate. They could be outstanding. They could run away. They could go jump the fence. They could do a lot of things. I've seen all of those things happen, by the way. And then you have kids learning, and they are matching the same energy. They are scared. They are nervous. They might get on. They might run away. I don't know. It's a bad combo.
Uh-huh.
But they're free. And there are very minimal places you can go learn how to be a rodeo athlete
Yeah.
or how to get on or how to even get into the sport. So a lot of people go to these free schools, and not that they're bad. I think they're great because there is a place for them. They need to get people just get them introduced to the sport, right? It's a great introduction. Our school costs $2,500. It's a big difference, right? And so there's a culture change we had to go through of schools aren't free if you actually want to evolve. And so this is a development camp. This is combine type stuff that you would see at the NFL or MLB training camps or whatever. This is the real deal. And so what they're doing is, and those free schools are usually like a day and a half, 2 days. So you get there just long enough to go through a whirlwind and wonder what happened, and maybe you walk away with some of the things you learned, and you try and go practice and you really don't know what you're doing, and then you create bad reps, and then we go to a rodeo, and then it just keeps repeating, and it's a hard struggle. Yeah. We want to take away from that. So we do 4 days. The first 2 days, there are no live animals. There are only professional skills and arena skills. And so professional skills meaning how to work out, how to eat correctly. These are all different classes they'll go through. How to use their social media platform in a way that's acceptable for sponsors, but also is be an ambassador for the sport. We have to be great ambassadors for our sport in order for it to grow. People have to want to be a part of it, right? How to manage their budget. We see a lot of talented guys, really young, win a ton of money. They get done. They got nothing left. You got to work a 9 to 5. Wouldn't it be cool to not have to go work a 9 to 5 if you were smart with your money that you won? How to approach sponsors. Like, how do you go? Why would someone sponsor you? We cover all of that. How to set up their media packets in ways that are teaching them basically a sales lesson, sales and marketing, and then skills. And so the first 2 days, skills wise, we have stationary skill machines or whatever you want to call them for each event, whether it's bull riding, saddle bronc, or bareback, and they will get on these machines or practice things that we have, equipment. I would say probably 4 or 5 hours of each of those days. And so we're breaking up the classes and the workouts and lunch and all of that intermixed with these skills sessions. And so we're breaking down the movements that they have to do extremely slow, because it's the same thing in mounted shooting. In competition, everything's happening fast. You don't have time to think. Thinking happens during the training. And so you need to slow down during the training and train your body to react in the way you want it to at full speed, because you don't have time to say, do this, do that, do this at full speed. Maybe after thousands, 10,000s, 20,000 reps, yeah. But in between then, you don't. You need to train the body to react. And especially in rough stock events, things are happening really fast. And so we have to train them to trust the process and trust the system. And it's so backwards because they want to get on these machines and go 1,000 miles an hour. Like they're trying to recreate that intensity. And you kind of have to grab them and shake them and be like, hey, you're never, ever, ever going to be able to recreate the intensity that happens in there out here. You just can't do it. It's not physically possible, dude. Like it just is not, because you're tying to a wild animal. Guys and girls, sometimes I see where the head's at, where they think that would help them to go, I need to be intense all the time to make myself better at intense situations. But really, they just burn themselves out. And so the gym ends up beating them up just as much as the arena does. And we have an issue. We have a big imbalance that happens, and injuries happen, blah, blah, blah. That's the story of rodeo. But if we can slow everything down, minimize the volume, make the gym complement the arena, we have been seeing huge changes. And so for the OPA, for the schools that we did, these academies, in the last 2 days, they get on live animals all day because they have to be able to do the reps. But the animals, I paid for them to come. So I am handpicking, working with these contractors, the perfect starting horses for these guys, because they have to be they need to buck, honest. Like they need to get on things that buck, because there's a huge timing aspect to the rough stock things. If something is running away with you and you're just got your hand in there tied, it feels terrible. It's terrifying. You don't learn anything. You learn how to hang on. Yeah. But we need to learn how to spur horses. And so when we get these right horses teamed up with these kids, we've had kids be on as little as 10 head total when they showed up, and they left 4 days later making what would have been 80+ point bareback rides at a professional level, at a pro rodeo. Wow. Granted, they got on the perfect horse for it, but they were able to think. They were able to get out of that zone, not be so locked down and terrified about what this thing is going to do. That'll come later. You have plenty of time in this sport to be scared. But so now, 3 years later, we're working on the statistics right now. But of our first 2 schools, we take 10 in each event. So that's 20 bareback riders and 20 bronc riders that came to our first 2 schools. I think 70 or 80% of them have gone to a circuit finals since then.
That's impressive.
So it's huge. It's like we were just kind of messing around. We just got done with our coaches meeting just before this, and we were talking about that. And that was like kind of the aha moment of, whoa, we actually are. It does work. It does work very well. And we had this one kid, I swear, he took everything we said and just did every single thing. And in 3 months, he had a van sponsored to him, a full Sprinter van. And I'm talking about, you couldn't fit another sponsored decal on this thing. It looked like a wrapping paper. It was wild. And we're like, what did you do? Because I just did what you guys told me. God dang. Okay. Well, that's awesome. But, Western sports the Western world is on fire right now. People are Yellowstone, PBR, all these things have gotten people fired up about the cowboy way of life, which I think deep down in there's a cowboy and cowgirl in everybody. Little boys at some point in time, everyone wanted to be a cowboy once, right? So we're starting to see this kind of turn in our country as well. I think as more, people are tired of the BS and they want America back. Right? They like the patriotism, the freedom, everything, and that's everything that rodeo stands for, and that the Western way of life stands for. So it's cool to see everyone pumped up about it, and it fires me up because it's only going to bring more excitement to rodeo, to mounted shooting, things like that.
Yeah,
like mounted shooting is so. I tell cowboys about that. We talk about it sometimes. It'll come up randomly in a weird conversation a couple times a year, and people are like, "You know what that is?" And I tell them, "Yeah, that's what it is." And they're like, "You get to shoot pistols off a horse?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "That's badass." I'm like, "Yeah." I mean, it's pretty cool. It's a fun deal, right? And I know they've done some of these like celebrity shoots at rodeos where they'll have it as a intermission or whatever. I know they do that in Cali for
Cheyenne Frontier Days. They have
Cheyenne. Yep, it is growing. It is growing, and people are getting more eyes on it, and it's cool. I would almost say you could get into mounted shooting easier than you can get into rodeo. It feels like rodeo has a lot of entries to barrier, and mounted shooting has a great community. Rodeo has a great community too, but that will just take you in and teach you. I know Richie learned from Annie Ellett or Bianco, and that was 20 years ago, right? But it was the fact that he was interested in the sport, and someone just took him in and was doing lessons. So I think you guys have an awesome community. Yeah.
Something you said though, I think really sort of transfers across the two, and that's the go slow to go fast. And it's something that we really have been emphasizing in mounted shooting a lot is, a lot of people come in and they're really gung-ho and they want to go and compete tomorrow, and their horse might never have heard gunfire before, but they just want to go on that horse and just see what happens. And we're really, I think a lot of clinicians are pushing this idea of going slow to go fast and getting great results from it. And it sounds like you are really doing the same thing and investing in a long-term career. You're not trying to get them to win the next rodeo tomorrow. You're thinking about 2, 3, 4 years ahead, and longevity in terms of their body and also things that they can continue to do when perhaps rodeo isn't going to work for them anymore.
Yeah, there has to be a plan B for these guys. And we just know that because none of us had it. None of us had a plan B, right? So we were stuck with those difficult times, and it definitely doesn't have to be that way. But even for the gym, like when they're working out, we have tempo to everything. There's a certain amount of time that they are controlling the eccentric going down. They have to hold it in the isometric in the bottom or at the top, whatever the movement is, because that teaches them to control their mind. You can go in the gym and go do 10 air squats and just do them without even thinking it. And you'd be like, yep, I'm done. And if I asked you, how good were the reps? Did you, what were your knees doing? What were your hips doing? What were your toes doing? They have no clue. They're not in tune with their body at all. And the only way that you're going to get better at being in tune with your body is practicing it. And so in events, especially when you're riding any kind of livestock or animal, you got to know what your body's doing no matter what, because he or she, whatever you're riding, things happen. They take a stumble, they take a whatever, and you still have to be able to control yourself through that, because no one cares if they took a stumble, because that's on you. That's part of the deal. And so training your body to react is the most important thing. And the way you do that is going slower, so then you can go faster. One of our coaches is a big jiu-jitsu guy, and we were talking yesterday about it, because there's a lot of parallels in sport in general that cross over to every sport, right?
Yep.
And he was saying in jujitsu, there's this guy in his gym that is just, he knows one level and it's 100. They just go, go, go. But he hasn't gotten any better, any, any amount better. He's been the same level forever. And Matt was talking about it and he was saying that it's because he never takes the time to go slow and play around, because that's when you figure out, you have the time to figure things out, right? It's like, this move isn't working. Why isn't it working? You can never figure that out at full speed. You need to slow it down to 20% and move slow and figure out where the fault is and then fix it from there. If you're never playing around, if you're never going slow or paying attention to how you're moving, you're never going to be able to react any better because your body's not practicing reacting.
Right.
I'd say that that's a mindset shift in itself, is going to the gym not just to move and, I'm going to throw up, I'm sweating, it was a good workout. That's just not how it works. If you go into the gym, and I tell anybody, the goal is to be the best moving person there. So no matter the weight, I don't care. If you become the best moving person there, the weight will follow, because you'll just be getting better every time. Each rep, you'll be getting more out of. So there's a lot to be said for slowing down.
Yeah, for sure. And thinking about movement and so your expertise in overall health and fitness, what advice would you give to mounted shooters to improve their performance, particularly when it comes to daily routines? Because you've talked a lot about the importance of being consistent and showing
Mhm.
up.
I love that question. So first of all, to anyone out there listening that says working out is not going to help me be any faster, I'm going to throw a physics lesson at you real quick. And if you tell me that if you are not lighter and more able to control your body weight, that your horse will not be able to run faster than another version of yourself that is heavier and unprepared, you're lying to yourself and you're just being lazy. And that's okay. But let's be real about it. It's
Yep.
okay if that's where you're at, but you really don't want to win that bad. You really don't want to change that bad if you're not willing to look at the actual facts and say, okay, I've done everything else. I can manage my guns fast. I can ride my horse great. What's going on? I need to shave off a couple hundreds every time I'm getting beat. Start looking at the personal stuff. And I think where people get the most messed up about fitness is they think that it takes an hour or more to see results, and they need to do that every day, right?
Yep.
And that is not the case. That's honestly not sustainable for 90% of anybody. I'd say America, our country, because we're busy. Like I said, we want things quick now, and we got to do a lot of them in a day. And so the way we get consistency is short segments, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 10 minutes. It doesn't matter. Non-exercise activity as well. We call it NEAT, increasing that. So say someone tells me they don't have time to work out in the day. That's fine. They have time to manage their nutrition. It's going to take some planning. You have to schedule your day, and time management's the biggest thing, right? And so when I'm talking about these 20-minute, 30-minute segments, I write out my day by the hour from when I wake up to when I'm done working. And so I'm up at 4 a.m. I start writing things out for 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. In those times, I literally have everything but going pee on there. Like, it's lunch, snacks. I'm shooting content here. I'm doing coaching check-ins here. I'm doing client check-ins here by the half hour. And what I get to plug in there after I plug in my whole day is I get to see the holes. And so I have 30 minutes here. I'm plugging my workout in there. I have 20 minutes on this day. I'm plugging it in there. Oh, I have an hour this day. I'm plugging it in there. If I need 3 at a minimum of any combination of those, and it's a win. And that's not just for me. That's for my clients as well, especially our rodeo athletes. When they get busy on the road, it's a freaking nightmare to try and get them to keep track of their stuff.
Yep.
But if we can make things doable for them, 10-minute session, 15-minute session, a lot of it's mobility, just doing something that 3 to 4 times a week. If you do that for 365 days, you will be a 100% different person by the end of it. And it really is that simple, but you've got to be patient, and you've got to realize it's not going to happen. And it's a year is like a short amount of time,
Yeah.
and for people, especially when we work with clients that their main goal is weight loss, that weight that they want to lose didn't come on in a year. It didn't come on in 2 years. A lot of times it came on over a span of 15 years. And so you've got to be, real about the fact that, hey, it took 15 to put this on. It's not going to take 15 to get it off, but it's going to take some time and some huge lifestyle changes, right? And so making it doable for yourself, looking at the workout, if you only have 10 minutes, go walk, go get outside, get fresh air, and go walk. And that's cool. That's a great starting point. After that, look into some coaching or something like that, or go 20-minute walks or 30-minute walks. Start increasing the length of your walks, but just keep it simple. And if you don't know what to do, go get some help. go get a coach. There's fitness apps. We have a fitness app, Champion Living Fitness. You can get it in any app store. They're all rodeo segmented, so they're named after rodeo events, but they are all for people that are mounted on a horse. So mounted shooters, the barrel racing would be great. Any of the
Yep.
bronc riding would be great. The difference in those is there's dumbbells and bands in the bronc riding. There's less dumbbells and bands in the barrel racing. And we have 101 versions, 202 versions. They have demo videos. They have everything that you could ever need right there. It's like $9 is a starting plan a month to $19 a month. It's super affordable. And like I said, we have tons of workout plans there. We also have coaches available that can do individualized plans for mounted shooters. If you came to a coach and said, this is my goal, we would build it to match that goal, to make you better in the arena, whatever it is, right? But for anyone starting, just make it simple. Just go move. Just go do something and make a habit of it, because a lot of us are struggling with our lifestyle habits, and our routine just needs to change a little bit to reverse those. And so I work out, like I said, 3 to 4 times a week. I plug it into my schedule. Sunshine, especially during these winter months. I'm up here in Montana, so it's a little different. But I got to have sunshine. And so I have it 10 minutes, go outside, look at the sun. Don't look at it straight in the, get some air. And soak up some sunlight, because I know how my body is and needs that. And the other thing is I do breath work every night. So I do some kind of breathing exercise just to help myself recenter. And I did that before a child, but even now with a baby, I do it even more.
A few months ago, my doctor always does vitals every time I go in, my cancer doctor, and my blood pressure was high. And of course, the first thing that a doctor's going to say is, we want to put you on medication. And I said, can I try something else instead of medication? And what I did is I started doing the box breathing: in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that multiple times. I have a pretty stressful job. So I did that multiple times through my workday when I could feel the stress building. And every time I went into a medical appointment, I started doing that. And my blood pressure was so much lower that there is no need for medication at all. It's just really building that into my day-to-day.
Yep. And it's just right between your ears, which is the fun part about that. It's all about your brain and controlling that. Same thing. I can feel myself when I'm stressed out. My blood pressure will increase. I can feel my BP going up, and also have terrible white coat syndrome. And so when I go into a doctor and they put the sleeve on me, I'm already freaking out. Yep. And so I'm naturally get these weird readings that are just like, they look at me and they're like, dude, what is going on? I'm good. It's just you. Like, it's not me, it's you. And so I'll do some breathing. I do my box breathing. I do 5-5-5. And same thing. They can come back in 2 minutes and it'll be, 120 over 70. And they're like, oh, you're good. But the breathing is cool because that is free, which is the best part. And that's, I've been harping this a lot. Nobody does the free stuff. There's so many free guides I give out on Instagram that we give out as coaches, and 40 people would do them. There should be hundreds of people doing this. And you know why they don't do it? It's because it's free. They don't think it's worth the value. And it's like, man, if I collected all the free stuff that I've learned from, I've learned something from the majority of the free things. The people that I look up to or I follow, when they give out free stuff, I'm getting it. I'm taking it because there's something in there. And people they undersell the value of free stuff and how much they could actually do. He's a client now, but his name's Matt Ralston. He's from Australia. He's in his 30s, full family, had ridden bulls in 10 years. We did a school over there, and he's like, I want to get in shape to ride. Like, I want to come do this again. So he does it. And the first year, I don't think he could afford what we were doing. And he listened to every podcast and did every post and workout. And he lost, I think it was 70 pounds or more, got on bulls, has continued that on, is now like helping his family get healthy. And he learned that without paying anything to us, except for to come to the school. From our podcast, from our content, from our newsletters. And he's messaged me that multiple times. Like, dude, if people would just do what I did, but that's the thing. People don't want to do what you did. They don't want to put the work in. They want the thing at the end of the path, but they don't want to do things in the middle. You just got to do it and make that change in your head. And it's a non-negotiable. And it doesn't have to be this intense, crazy thing. Just make it simple, make it doable. And the fun thing about it is when you start doing that, you're going to have a natural gravitation towards wanting to see these other parts of fitness. And the things I would look at for, is this successful? Is this going well for me? How do you feel? Is your energy going up? Are you happier? Does your body feel better? Are you less achy? And like I was saying, I go move because I know I'm going to feel better. my body's tight, natural inhibition, don't go do anything. We should lay on the couch. We'll do something tomorrow because we'll be less tight. What's really going to happen is we're not going to do anything. We're going to get more tight tomorrow, and then we're really not going to do anything. And we repeat this cycle. And if we would have just gone and moved, we would have reversed it. So if you are somebody that's dealing with a lot of tension, pain, aches, and whatever, as long as it's not some like crazy injury that you've had, if this is something that's come on slowly, knee pain, whatever, it's probably a strength imbalance is what we're missing. And it looks different for everyone. If you need help, reach out to us.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think something critical that you said there that I've really taken to heart is this idea of we are athletes when we expect our horses to be athletes in mounted shooting. And we are also athletes. It's a partnership, and we can't just rely on them to do all of the work. We have a role in it too. And seeing yourself as an athlete and seeing yourself with that identity, I think really changes the way that you approach a lot of different things in your life.
Yeah, it's a confidence level that you take to every part of your life. And that's the working out, the doing hard things. That's why I love it. You go do it in the morning. You've already done the hard thing. The rest of the day is easy. You've already made yourself get out of bed when you didn't want to and went and worked out. That's why I love it. And then I feel great going into stuff. I'm more confident. It's so funny when we first start training clients, even the way they walk changes after a month or two. Their shoulders are broader. They're standing up taller. You can tell that they feel better about themselves and about the things they're doing. And like I said, with Cody's experience, it just bleeds out into everything. It makes you better at everything that you do because you're on top of it. You're confident in your abilities, and it's unstoppable when it happens like that. But the teamwork thing with your horse, you can not prepare yourself, but you can't get upset that you keep getting the same results, right? Yeah. Like, yeah, that's cool. Don't exercise. Don't treat yourself like an athlete. Only dump all the money and supplements into your horse and do all the things for him. But you're not going to ever get any different experiences. You're going to be in the same spot because you're not elevating yourself as an athlete or as a horse owner or a horseman or horsewoman. You got to put the work in and do it. And you got to be in tune with your teammate. And so that involves riding, exercising, doing all those things, and being able to ride that animal at the best of its ability. We see it in rodeo all the time. I'm sure we see it in mounted shooting as well. People got a lot of money. They go buy this horse that could win them anything. But son of a gun, they are not even close enough physically prepared to ride this animal, right?
Yep.
And so it'll net you can go spend as much money as you want. You'll still never win like you want to because there's no shortcuts in this. And that's the fun part about life in general is when you figure that out, you get a lot better at life.
Well, one final question for you. You've had a lot of success over the past few years, but what are you looking forward to in 2025?
Yeah, we've got some fun things going on. So we are making kind of not a move, but like a lateral transition to the outdoor space. And rodeo is always and will always be our staple. And working with those kind of athletes. But the more we worked with rodeo athletes, the more we realized how many of them hunt, fish, and when they're done rodeoing, they still want to hunt, fish, hike, do all these things, right? And so I think I said it earlier, but I'm addicted to bow hunting or just hunting in general, shooting my bow. You'll see me, it's freaking 2 degrees out here in Montana. I'm still shooting, like I can't help it. But we're making a little bit of a move into that realm. And so I've got another Instagram page I started called Champions Outdoors. And so it was just so that would have been a lot of stuff coming at you from the Champion Living page if it was all of it, right? So it's just going to be the Western hunting. I'm helping guys get tags in states, putting them into the draws. So I got a whole service. We started to do that.
Nice.
So anyone's interested in the hunting, wanting to hunt out west, it's $200 a year and we can put you into any 50 states in the US into any of these draws to hunt. So it's a pretty cool deal. So we're going to have, that page will have like archery tips, hunting tips, gear reviews, lots of just me going live and shooting my bow and talking about what I'm doing, what I'm focusing on. The thing I like about archery is like the system. There's a process to it, and that there should be a process to everything. Your shooting, your gym, everything should have a system and a process that you can fall back on. And we can get into that on a different episode or something, but like there's just like I have little words I tell myself over and over that make me do that process over and over and over, and keep me calm while I'm doing them. So that's one of my favorite things that we're doing. Our podcast is something we are taking to the next level this year. We're kind of changing how we do it. Mostly we have had lots of rodeo athletes, right? The NFR, I had a big mixed bag of guests, which was a ton of fun, but we had like an Olympic figure skater. We had stock contractors. We had Turtle Box audio owners, and it was just a big mixed bag. But what I realized was there's so much to be learned, like I was talking about from other sports, but just success in general from people. It doesn't matter what walk they're going down. If you get to hear their story, you start picking things out. They, ooh, that's really good. That would work for me. And I want to do that more. And so we're reaching out to a big variety of people. So Cody's obviously kicking it off for us, but it's going to be a really fun dynamic this year, and a lot more interviews with guests, a little bit more long form with the guests. We're not going to be cutting it off in an hour. We're just going to kind of roll and see what happens. But I want to talk about more than just fitness and rodeo. So we're going to talk about some more things like that. And then as for the training side of things, the coaches are turning it up every chance they get. And so they've started these communities, which are actually really cool, for each event. And so we've got barrel racing, bareback riding, bronc riding, bull fighting, and bull riding available right now. And so coaches are running their specialties, right? So each of these coaches has done these events, worked with them, trained champions, world champions, and has created these communities where it's like a Facebook, if you will, where all these guys get to not work out together, but they're posting all their workouts together. They're doing live like conferences with guests. So like the bareback riders just had Caleb Bennett on, and he did a full lesson about how to enter professional rodeo. And it's like, you can't get that anywhere. You'd have to pay thousands of dollars to go get that. And I think it's like $50 a week. These guys and girls get to come in and get all this information and have that same thing I was talking about the CrossFit gym, like that camaraderie, that support system. They get
accountability.
That. Yeah, they get that from there. And it's fun because it creates a little competition because they get to see these guys or girls doing the work.
Yeah.
And those times in your own head where you're like, oh, I could skip today. And you look at your group, your community, like, son of a bitch. Like they're getting after it. I can't skip today. I got to go work. It's going to raise the level of athlete, the caliber of athlete that we're seeing in professional rodeo and hopefully Western sports. Those are a few of the things that I'm excited about for for 2025. And we've got some big things under works. I just can't talk about them yet.
Well, I'll be looking forward to seeing that coming down the pipe. But the outdoor space, super excited about that. We are a big hunting family, so
awesome.
I'm about to check that out. But I'm going to add all of the links that you have just described in the show notes. So anyone wanting to check out any of the things that you've talked about, please head to the show notes. And thank you so much for your time. It was such a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, this was awesome. Thanks for having me, and hopefully we'll do this again.
Thanks so much to Doug Champion. It was really interesting to take this episode in a bit of a different direction and do some learning that I think transfers over to the world of mounted shooting and might help us improve our performance. On the note of learning and improving performance, congratulations to Anissa Caps, who was the winner of the Balloon Killers January Challenge. Anissa, I'll be in touch. Thanks everyone who participated and took the time to send me your trackers. I hope that it was helpful because that was the aim of the challenge. If there are balloon killers you would like to hear interviewed, please email me on balloonkillers@gmail.com. That's balloonkillers, all one word, @gmail.com. And I'll see some of you in Arizona. Safe travels.